In this video, we're going to talk about how to get a job in politics. It is easy as 1, 2, 3 if you know how to do it. We're going to talk about that in this video, how you volunteer and get yourself in the door, how you make yourself indispensable so that you end up on a campaign payroll. Well, this begins with the following 5 simple steps: finding a candidate you like, volunteering for that candidate that you like, how you become really smart at your job, how you make yourself indispensable, how you end up on the payroll. We're going to go into a deep dive on all of these right now. Let's start with finding a candidate that you like. If you're like every other human on the face of the earth, you've got certain attitudes about certain things, your own notions of right and wrong, causes that are worthy, causes that are not. And I say this because I'm going to suggest to you that you volunteer for a candidate. But you really won't be a very good volunteer if you end up volunteering for a candidate that you wouldn't vote for, who's against everything you're for and for everything that you despise. So the first order of business is work for somebody you can be passionate with. It will be easier for you to do the job that you have to do. Now, you don't know how to do that. It's pretty easy to figure out in your community at who's running for what elections are being decided in whatever year it is, whether it's 24, 25, 26, what positions may be open, who the incumbents are that hold those positions, whether they're expected to run for re-election or vacate a seat and create a vacancy. It isn't hard to do. So go look around. Look at the websites of candidates running for positions in your community. Find a candidate you like, call them, and volunteer. That is step 1. Okay, next thing. Step number 2, and this is after you volunteer, then have actually said, yes, I would like your help. This is where you become indispensable. Now, this starts with good work habits. If the candidate asks you to do something and you'll say that you'll do it, you have to do it. Don't just walk away and leave the job undone, because she will not, or your candidate will not take you seriously ever again. So keep your commitments. The second thing is, whatever time of the day you're supposed to show up early before the time you're required to show up, and pitch in and do something else until your appointed time starts, or just start doing your work early. If things are still going on in a campaign around you, whether you're in a headquarters or doing something else and the work isn't quite done, why, don't be afraid of staying late. It will get noticed by either the candidate or other staff members that appreciate you sticking around to complete a job. Be personable. Means don't scowl. Keep a smile on your face. Be helpful. Be a pleasant personality. Be everybody's friends. Don't get into arguments over ideological things with other people on the staff. Just keep it to yourself. If they say something you disagree with, you're not going to change their mind. They won't change yours. Just give it up. 4th thing, don't be afraid to show some initiative. You see something that needs to be done, something that isn't being done correctly, or something that's really important to the campaign that nobody's paying attention to, take it upon yourself to show some initiative. Either do it yourself or mention it to a senior staffer that this doesn't appear to be getting done, and volunteer to take it on yourself. But if you're taking that kind of initiative and people notice that you're willing to take on extra work, that you're not sitting there waiting to be asked to do something, they're going to notice that, and it will be noted, because most volunteers wait to be told what to do. You be the exception of the volunteer who sees something that needs to be done and just gets it done. Now, I am going to share one little story here that kind of made my break way back when I was in my 20s volunteering for a political campaign. I dutifully did my work, but I was also an observer. And what I noticed is the candidate sometimes stumbled when he spoke in public. He wasn't stupid by any means. He just had trouble speaking on the stump to an audience. And finally one day I just sat there late one night and I typed a speech for him. And after I finished it about 11:30 at night, I walked into his office, left it on his desk. The next morning, I was already in my office, and around 8:30 in the morning, I heard the candidate's voice. "Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Who put this on my desk?" And he's wandering up and down the hallway of headquarters looking for whoever it was that put this speech on his desk. And I figured that, well, I'm about to get fired or something good may happen. I finally heard him and I walked out in the hallway and I owned up to it. And he looked at me and said, "I've been waiting for someone to notice that I needed help with my speeches. Thank you. From now on, I want you in the car with me. You can help me with my words. You can write my speeches for me. I want you in every important meeting because I need help with this and you're really good at it. Thank you for noticing." Well, guess what happened? The next thing that happened is they put me on the payroll. That's how I got my first job in politics. It's simply a lesson about taking initiative. Another place that I'm going to mention here where it quite often leads to a job in politics, where by now you're volunteering in the campaign and you've taken initiative, you're looking for things to do, everybody's begun to like you, and you're kind of Mr. Popular or Miss Popular around the campaign headquarters. Look for ways to ingratiate yourself with the senior staff of the campaign manager, or the political director, or the fundraiser, or people who have specialized roles in the campaign. They tend to be very busy people. They tend to confer a lot on their own. Their natural inclination is to believe the volunteers are there just doing their own thing and it's not their job to supervise the volunteers. And the volunteers don't know what they know, so it would be useless to invite them into the meetings. It's only natural. It's like the upper reaches of management talking to people in the lower reaches of a company. They don't interact a lot. So find a reason for them to interact with you. So you heard me mention, come early, stay late. Well, what happens when you do? Well, you may see a senior staff person coming in the morning because one of the senior staffers has to open the headquarters. And they notice that you're there ready for work. You may be around when there's something to do late at night and one of the senior staffers, maybe even the campaign managers hanging around because it's an important task to fulfill. And it's one technique that I've seen used and many times is become the smartest person in the room. Now, how do you do that? Well, here's the technique. Let's suppose that the campaign headquarters opens at 8 and you're sitting outside the door a little before 8, or maybe you even have the key to let yourself in at 7:30. Well, before you go to work that morning, get up early, go through every newspaper in this candidate's jurisdiction and look for articles about things that happened the day before. Take the time to become an expert on the person your candidate is running against, keeping track of everything that they do and say, every bit of public information. Keep track of what the opponent's campaign staff is doing, where they're milling around, how many people they got on their payroll, new filings that they've made about where their money's coming from, where their expenditures are going. You know what? If you take that upon yourself and you're there early in the morning and you start talking about stuff that you know that the person coming in a little bit later doesn't know, if that person's a manager or a senior staffer, this is what's going to occur to them, that you know stuff that they don't. Now, in a political campaign, information is power. The more informed you are about what's going on and what might affect your candidate, the more power you have, even if you're not on the payroll. And if you play your cards right with your habit of always being the smartest, best informed person in the room, there's going to come a point where you are invited into the senior staff meeting that convenes at 8 o'clock every morning. How to get a job in politics? Well, frankly, I've described two ways to do it. Use some of what I've told you to get a job in politics that will lead to a career of working in political campaigns or becoming a campaign manager or actually getting into the political consulting business. You can also use what I've told you to put yourself on the road to becoming a political candidate someday. You know what? Because you get involved in political campaigns, you meet all sorts of people who can help you advance your cause someday, and you make a lot of new friends who will respond to your requests for help when your time comes. Now, regardless of what you want to do or what your career path might be, I have a free gift for you, and I want to share this with you. It's a link to a free video, what you get by volunteering in a political campaign. I go into a lot more detail in that video than I have this one on all the benefits of volunteering in a campaign and the connections that it leads to. And it's just some of the people that I've seen who started what became magnificent careers in public life. Their very first job was volunteering in a campaign. And I explain how some of them have done it.